Welcome. Welcome to New Light Living Podcast. And today I have a lovely guest with me, and her name is Damla Aktekin. And I just want to, before we get into this wonderful episode, I want to welcome you, Damla, to New Light Living Podcast.
I am so happy to be here, Ulrika. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great. I am so honored to have you on. And we want to learn more about you. So before we get into today's topic, which is really around, the very beautiful topic of self-healing, we want to learn more about you. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do today.
Well, to shorten up the last 42 years, I grew up in Turkey, and I actually started my professional life as an engineer and a business consultant. What happened for me was through a series of medical and personal and spiritual emergencies, I found myself first as a yoga teacher, switching from a mind-based living from my business corporate days to a body-based living with my yoga days. And then through another crisis of becoming a mom, I switched to being a vibrational healer, which is what I do right now. And I help people with healing their energetic wounds. And an energetic wound is anything that may have been not life affirming or not life confirming in your life that changed the being of your vibrational existence. And all I help people do is either through self-healing or teaching them through self-healing methodologies, or partnering with them to help them heal a little deeper, to help them unweave those patterns and look at them and say, okay, this part of existence or this way of existing no longer works for me. How can I update it? How can I shift it and extend it? So that's the work.
Oh, beautiful. Now, how did you know that you were a healer in that sense? Because you in the beginning, you didn't know, right?
Yeah.
It was what was the turning point for you to...
Well, very easy. What I knew until that point wasn't working, Ulrika. What I had learned up until that point through yoga, I wasn't able to get back to my senses. I was feeling myself in this deep darkness of deep exhaustion. But I now know that it wasn't just the exhaustion of motherhood, but all of my untended to needs and unhealed wounds were coming up to the surface. So I made a decision. It wasn't so much as deciding to become a healer. My decision was, I'm going to grab anything and everything that brings me more light and expansion. And I became interested in crystal healing. I started to work with mantras. I started to work with sound and tapping. And all of those things made me discover parts in me that I haven't accessed before. I was used to working with my business sense and my logical sense. But even though I now know that I did have a way into my intuition, I hadn't owned that. So through those healing tools, I began to reach into other parts of myself and other parts of my existence. So then I realized this is something that I can help others to do. But even with that, it was the decision point was, again, another intention. I said, okay, here I am. I'm finding relief through these tools. For my next step in life, I just want love to use me for good, for love. And it could have been, love could have sent me back to the office, back to the corporate world, but she didn't. So here I am helping people, or wanting to help people heal.
Wow, that's such an inspiration, because what I'm hearing from you is that you really tapped into a side of you that was there all along, but had been, tucked away or not focused on. And isn't it so that all of us really have a lot of talents and gifts that we naturally have, but we may not have tapped into yet? So that's such an inspirational story that you have. And clearly now we can see your light, we can hear your light. So what a great blessing that you did grab hold of that opportunity, and love that.
Yeah, thank you. I have to say there was a motherhood was definitely part of it. There's something that comes over and through becoming it's like the inner wild animal awakens. Like I could already feel my intuition getting stronger with becoming pregnant. And then afterwards, it was just more of a louder thing that I couldn't decided not to ignore anymore. So yeah.
Yes. So if we move into today and today's topic and expand it a little bit further and bring it to into today's situation we're in, why do you think the topic of self-healing as a broad topic is becoming more and more relevant in today's way we're living?
So we are all vibrational droplets of Om. The name of my website and blog and business is A Drop of Om. And Om is the seed sound Sanskrit. That's just a description of the underlying vibration. If you look into the subatomic particles, into quantum realm, we are vibrating particles and actually vibrations of light in a probability cloud. So you as a droplet of Om, you live in a sea of Omness. And right now that sea is very wavy and full of fear. So we are collectively going through an energetic wound. And when you go through something like that, just like motherhood did for me, it's going to begin to awaken in you, not just the stress of the moment, but anything and everything you haven't healed is going to come up to the surface. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I found myself, and also because I'm an intuitive empath, I began to just get more stress and more stress and stress. I have tools to, get myself back into center. But I realized what I was craving more than anything was just being held in love. And I do that in my meditations, and I wanted to create that as a container, not just for myself and others. So I created an energy healing membership, which is called Chakra Bliss Vault. And in that, what I share is 5-minute, 30-minute, and 45-minute silent healing sessions with crystal healing, with a little bit of a soothing music. And the one of them, the 30-minute one, is simply an energetic clearing of you, your energy field, your physical space, as well as your possessions, as well as just helping you to be. And what I now do, Ulrika, these days, what I have been doing in the past year since having created this, is I take half an hour in the day. I put myself in a fetal position. And by the way, this is open to anyone and everyone. It's a pretty affordable membership. I put myself in a fetal position and I let myself be held in love, because as a healer, there are some protocols. Like I called for your highest vibrational helpers. I called for your divine help, and the divine in the soup is what I'm calling for it in the container. As a healer, I don't even want to do that for myself. I just want to listen to that and immerse myself. And the reason for that is, as we're going through traumatic times, it's so important to give your nervous system a chance to unfold, a chance to not create more wounding and more strictness and stuckness in your system. So your first and foremost job, whether you do it through, what I'm offering, or you find your own way of doing this, just even 15 minutes, even if it's not 30 minutes, finding a way to immerse yourself in love and nervous system relaxation through calmness, through just beingness, is super, super important.
Yes, so much wisdom there in terms of what we all are going through and what we actually need. Yeah, so I love that you're not only doing it for yourself, which is where it all starts, we have to do it for ourselves so that we can help others. And that's just the way you are describing your own, process, and how important it is for you in your daily life. It means that it's important for all of us too, to do the same and as you say, in whatever way we feel that love coming back to us, and awaken our senses.
Yeah. And there's something about letting yourself be held in a field of love. How often do you do that? How often do you let yourself be vulnerable and just let yourself feel everything you need to feel while being held, not in the loneliness of it, but in the expansiveness of it, where you can let things flow through you and pass through you. Another thing that people can find on my website is called an EFT tapping meditation called Allowing Life to Flow, that they can download freely, or they can go to my YouTube channel and find it free. It's freely available. And that is all about helping you feel all the feelings and sensations while supporting your system by gently tapping on some meridian points. And what that does is that sends the signal of wellness and goodness and parasympathetic nervous system response through your bones, through the crystalline structure of your bones. So that's another way of being held, by acknowledging. But the first one, just being held, is just as delicious. So whichever one you're drawn to is good.
Yes. No, so beautiful. And also this opportunity we all have to learn and learn tools that can help us come back to ourselves in that way. So yes, so beautiful. Yeah. Now, going back to your own journey, Damla, we tapped into a little bit how your journey had been, but give us a little bit of more history around how you got to where you are here today.
Yeah, I mean, it's an evolving journey. I'm still learning and evolving. But the main thing that I've discovered about myself is that I have a deep desire to learn about healing and a deep desire to share what I learned. So that continues to evolve. When I realized that the crystal healing that I had been practicing for myself, and I practiced that for months and months and months, I would just grab a few crystals, place them on me. I would take notes before and after each healing. I wanted to make sure that it worked. And then I actually first shared it with my family and friends and got their reaction, which was they were getting a lot out of it. And then I decided to offer it out into the world. So there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and love that goes into everything that I offer. And then I always tell people, I respect their journey. I respect where they are. Just try and give it a try. When people hear the word energy healing or vibrational healing, they're not quite sure what to expect. Just as I was, if you had told me about any of these tools, like, I don't know, 15 years ago, I would just dismiss them. I wouldn't even pay attention. But then life made me pay attention. So my wish and hope for you is that you find that spark, a life spark in you, and take responsibility for it and take steps to tend to your needs. And that is an ongoing journey for me. That is something I'm learning and relearning. What do I need right now? And what we need right now changes daily. And responding to what we need in the gentlest and most compassionate way that we can. And then moving on to satisfying those needs leads you to a place where you have a safe enough and a stable enough container that you can begin to now look at the underlying wounds and begin to uncover them. And that's where I feel my gift is right now, in helping people co-create a new reality through those wounds.
Yes, yes. And I'm curious, Damla, as far as where do you think the area, if we call it that, or topic of self-healing, energy healing, vibrational healing, sound, light. Where do you feel this is going in the future? I'm curious to hear your perspective on that.
There is a lot of research happening about it. I feel like it's going to become even more mainstream than it is right now. I feel like it will become part of our vocabulary. There are a lot of different people bringing in different tools into the existence. There's the harmonic egg, which utilizes sound and light, which is actually a device that you can go in and experience. I have interviewed the creator of it. There are a lot of pioneers in the energy healing world that are tapping into the quantum realm, because we're no longer living in the Newtonian world, we're living in the quantum world. And as the science evolves, I feel like all these energy modalities are evolving with it. So I see it becoming a part of our lives. I see everyone coming into a comfort level with it, where they can be more open to experimenting and experiencing it in their lives.
Yes, great perspective. Now, if we bring our conversation to, the area of having a daily practice, and obviously you are a great example of what the result can be when you are dedicating yourself to having a regular, if not daily, self-healing practice. And for you, what would be like the best thing that have come out of your own practice for yourself in this self-healing journey of yours?
Yes. I tell people when I'm asked who I am inspired by, I tell people I am inspired by people who live with energetic wounds, because the energetic wound is the trauma. Energetic wound is the thing that hit you, that huge life change. It's you moving, it's you going through loss, it's you having a huge life event. It's also you going through a huge community or a nationwide event like the pandemic. So we all have wounds. I haven't yet met someone who doesn't have energetic wounds. But then what it takes to live in the world is you wake up and then you put one foot in front of the other and then the other. And there's a lot of pain and struggle involved and discomfort involved with it. What I want people to remember and realize is that the daily practice is not a chore. It is something to help you with making that daily existence more pleasurable, more expanded, more joyful. And the practice itself becomes the refuge that you come back to find the nectar and the juice and the sweetness of reconnecting to your soul, reconnecting to your vibrational essence, your drop of home, and to the vibrational essence in the universe. So why is it daily? We brush our teeth daily. We, I don't know, you wash your face daily. And the healing that I speak of is more about you taking stock and responsibility of how you're stepping out into the world. When you wake up, are you stepping out with that anger, sadness, whatever, versus you can still have all of those, but you can take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to tend to your energetic soup. So there's more coherence in it. And whether you do this through meditation, through singing, going into nature, crystal healing like I do, is completely up to you. But you take that 15, 20 minutes, and then what you get through that 15 and 20 minutes is going to carry you throughout the day. And it's going to take you to a new level of existence. And for me as a mom, the difference is being able to sit in the dinner table with my daughter and being able to be present to her versus getting lost in my thoughts and my own drama. So it's not just for you, it's also for the people around you. So please take responsibility for your healing and for your soup. so that we can all live in a beautiful soup of connection together.
Oh, so important. Yes. And I can imagine that somebody that's viewing or listening this may have this question. So I'm going to ask you that question. How does one know what set of practices or tools that are right for them? How do they know?
That's a great question. Following your curiosity is one thing, and then not being afraid to try things out. I often get the question of like, are crystals dangerous? Or people are usually afraid of being vulnerable in some way when they try something out. So, which is another reason I love the online tools, because that's something you can try out in the comfort of your home, in the privacy of your home. You can just, download one of my meditations and you can immerse yourself in it. And then pay attention to how you feel before, during, and after. Pay attention to, without judging or labeling, what you may be feeling, noticing, sensing, experiencing. So that's going to be a guide. So follow your curiosity and be vigilant about trying things out. And don't be afraid to try them out.
Yeah, such great advice. And it is really that switch that you're talking about, to start listening to ourselves and discern what is right for us and what's not, because so many times we go to an event or a bookshelf and pick a couple of books and like, I'm going to follow this exactly, and then it's like, no, it doesn't feel good. Or yeah, so that's such important advice, to really try and assess or listen to ourselves, how we feel. If it feels good, it's right.
I would say though, I mean, it's also important to, I agree with you. It's also important to give yourself a certain amount of time to stick with it. I have these daily practice journal. One of them is a 21-day crystal healing journal. So that could be a start. So you give this, you don't just try it once and you're like, maybe it's not the right day or the right time or whatever. But if you stick with it for 21 days, that's also in line with the science, because it takes our brains some time to change its structure. The neuroplasticity is there, but it actually takes about 8 weeks of commitment for something to begin to really make a huge dent in your life. In my experience, though, you're going to start to feel it in the first or second or third time. Like, most likely in the first or second time, you're going to feel a little something. It might be a little bit, but it's usually enough to get you hooked, for you to carry you through the practice, the rest of the practice. So give yourself a little bit of a time. So, so that you can really get a feel for this thing that you're drawn to, whatever that is.
Great point about the patience. Yeah, because we all are conditioned to, want a quick result. But yeah, that's a great point. Now, when it comes to resources or practices for yourself, what would you say would be that one practice or resource that have made the biggest difference for you in your journey? If you had to pick one.
Yeah, it would be crystal healing. It's become that practice that I go to because it's allowed me to, first of all, it's changed how I look at the world. I now know that I am a crystal being as well. I'm a crystal structure. And then when I hold another crystal, it's a chance to admire and hold a part of me outside of myself, a part of me that's part of nature. And when I connect with the crystal with that kind of love and respect, I know I'm connecting with myself as well. And most of the time when I say, when I practice crystal healing, I actually work with the crystals and minerals that already exist in my body. 65 or more % of the bones are crystals and minerals. Your blood is a plasma or liquid crystal. So is your lymphatic system. So is your fascia and your DNA. Your eyes are water, 95% water. That's a crystal, liquid crystal right there. So there's a lot that's happening in you and through you. I think for me, the crystals allowed me to see beyond the solidness of things. And they've also helped me create something beautiful. I love touching them. I love holding them. I love the beautiful colors, the sensations. And through them, I'm learning and relearning to appreciate myself, if that makes sense.
Yes, it makes so much sense. And it really is this, what I'm hearing you say is that it's really this sensation of feeling one with everything, not just our environment, but also with yourself. And that's a beautiful connection to have. Now, if anyone listening or viewing this right now is so curious about how to kind of start their own self-healing practice, what would you recommend? What are your top 3 tips on what someone could, where they can start?
Well, they can always head to my website. It's dropofom.com, ADROPOFOM.com. And I have some free meditations there that they can start with. And I have practice journals, daily practice journals. I call them life-changing daily practice journals. I have a mantra journal, a crystal journal, and soon to be published, a gratitude journal that I'm working on. So those are the tools. And then just again, even if you don't follow my journals, just getting a journal, having some sort of accountability tool, something that you're just going to mark day 1, day 2, day 3. And in the traditional practice, in the mantra practice, the tradition is that you wake up, and then the time between you wake up and the time you sleep is the time you practice. And that's day 1. And if you're doing like a 21-day or a 40-day practice, if you miss a day and go to sleep, you actually start back from day 1 to teach you the value of making that commitment and keeping coming back to yourself. So for me, the decision point, or what makes you keep coming back to the practice, is again, not seeing it as a chore, but making it a love affair, keeping your journal by you, making sure that you touch it, you enjoy it. And I always infuse my journals with a lot of love, a lot of loving questions. So it becomes a practice of like lovingly coming back to you, lovingly coming back to your essence, and lovingly touching your crystals, and lovingly including the life that's here in you, in everything that you do. So make a commitment, find a journal, and then fall in love with it.
Oh, so beautiful. I love that. A love affair with yourself and your practice. That's a great, great inspiration. Now, you have mentioned it earlier here, but where can we connect with you, Damla?
Yes, you can go to my website at dropofom.com. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook with the same handle at dropofom. And there's a quiz on my website, which is called Your Energetic Wounds Quiz. And you can take it to find out what your energetic wounds might be and how they might show up in your life. I also have a little mini course on crystal healing myths. That's a great starting point if people are new to crystal healing. That's going to teach you my way of working with crystals, or begin to give you an idea of my philosophy. And if you have any questions at all, just reach out to me.
Great. Thanks for sharing that, Damla. Now, before we wrap up the episode today, I'd like to ask you a personal question. And that is, what do you live by?
I've been thinking about that. I actually have like this series of beautiful quotes and sayings I have hanging here. And depending on the day, I'm drawn to a particular one. Right now, the question that I'm living with is, what is the nectar of this moment? What is the sweetness, or if you look deeper than the nectar goes back to the flower, and the flower goes back to the seeds. Maybe you're not quite at the nectar season, but there's some sort of deep hidden seed in your situation, however painful and difficult that might be. So for my gratitude journal, that's the question that I'm living and breathing with right now. So what's the nectar? What's the sweetness? What's the wisdom and the delight of life that's coming up to meet me in this moment?
Beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing your time here on New Light Living podcast today. And thank you everyone for watching and listening to this. We will be back soon with another episode. Thank you so much, Damla.
My pleasure.